Inside the train, it doesn't offer enough of really a view to like the outside world, but being like physically outside and like being able to see everything and like catch it on camera. Obviously, all my friends, I told them that I was gonna get up on top of the train because it was the 7 line and I've never surfed the 7 line before. They were obviously all like, nah, don't do it.
So when he first arrived, he had, that 70% of his skull missing. It was definitely, on my end, being a relatively new therapist at the time, was the most significant skull loss I've ever seen.
It was really hard to know what to expect when he first got here. When he first got here, he was not able to consistently respond to the commands that we were giving him. He wasn't able to communicate. He wasn't able to demonstrate that he understood the language we were giving him. He wasn't following our commands.
Due to his brain injury, he was not able to speak. So it wasn't just that he didn't have a voice, he was not able to even coordinate moving his mouth to try to speak.
I injured the whole right half of my brain, and the right half of your brain controls your left side's movements, as does the left side of your brain with the right side, where your body's right side movements.
With him, he had like impact too, so he had it definitely in multiple areas. And with the right side, it was a different impact. So the left side, he has like a hemiplegia, but the right side, he had movement of that arm, but he had a hard time coordinating that movement. So we would give him like a beanbag and he would hold it, and then he would try to throw it, but he couldn't figure out like the coordination piece of it.
It took constant and intensive therapy to get to how I am today with walking, and that's just walking.
So the right was still very weak. It was his unaffected side, but both of his sides were really affected. It was a global brain injury, but it was definitely his least affected side, I should say, so his stronger side. But that started to return first, but with one leg, you can still do a lot, but it's challenging to be able to effectively walk or go long distances without the help of power mobility. So for the longest time, it was just Terrell with using his right leg a lot, and the left leg was being helped by me / slightly coming along. And then that's when the power chair was really something we had to focus on, because it could be his key to access to the community and going to school and being able to ambulate those long distances.
George was working on walking and I was working on power chair, and we always used to say like, it's like kind of a race to see which one he gets first, because he was making such rapid progress in all areas. Ultimately, he got the driving, but he started walking pretty soon after. He's a very hardworking kid, so you can't really stop him.
Once he started to ambulate, that was all he wanted to do. All he wanted to do, and I was there for it. That's my job, right? Yeah. It was the baby steps of walking, where initially we just walk, 5 feet, 6 feet, and then we'd do that again, and maybe I'd be helping him with a little less. Or we'd walk a little further. Let's say we walk 20 feet, but I'd help him a little more, and then we try to build up that endurance again to where then he could do 20 feet with me doing a little less.
He wasn't strong enough and didn't have the coordination yet to produce his voice. So we would work a lot of breathing techniques to try to strengthen his breathing muscles in order to be able to push his voice out.
Breath from your belly. Your turn.
And he worked so incredibly hard every single day throughout all of his therapy sessions. And, ultimately, as you see him today, he is able to speak, of course, and he's come so far.
So he now has shoulder movement, he has some elbow movement, and like I was saying, he's getting his finger out, and he's gaining movement, and he uses it in some functional ways. He has some activities that he does with it. He'll open the doors in school, he'll try to press the elevator button, so he has a lot of things that he can do with that arm as well. So overall, he's made progress in every area, and he's talking clearly all the time. He talks to everybody, he knows everyone's name, his memory is better than mine in all the ways.
Terrell has worked really hard, and he's been getting really good rehab for a long time. And so there's the recovery that happens because your brain recovers and heals, and then there's the recovery that happens because you've trained in a way that maybe other parts of your brain have taken over some of the function, or maybe you've learned really well a way to compensate for this, what might now be a permanent weakness. So I think Terrell is a picture of all of these different pieces kind of stacked on top of each other, which is made for a tricky, long, but also pretty remarkable recovery.
He is one of a kind. Not only is he very charismatic, he lights up any room that he walks into, you know, with his bright smile. But like you said, he's kind, and he cares about his peers. He cares about getting the message out that subway surfing is not worth it, and it's not worth what he's gone through. And I think for a teenager of his age to have that perspective and to be able to turn this around and try to help other kids his age avoid going through what he had to go through, I think that in and of itself speaks to his character.
The quote goes, high risk, high reward, and you're offering quite literally the highest risk there is to offer. You're risking your life for absolutely no reward or gain.